Minister, and I echo what Senator Noonan and Senator Andrews have said. Like, this is not an easy task, and we all need you to succeed in your role. But because the release of the latest record homelessness figures showed 158 adults in Sligo, Leitrim and Donegal in emergency accommodation, along with 16 families, including 43 children. And it's clear, I mean, we've outlined all the problems here, that the government's approach isn't working, and it's surely madness for us to continue to pursue a policy direction that is taking us from a housing crisis into a condition of permanent and chronic disaster. The need for social housing is phenomenal at the moment, and there are more people who are entitled to and who are looking for social housing than ever before. Just this morning, a report on Ocean FM covered a report from Donegal County Council which identified a need for 430 more social homes, and that's just in South Donegal alone. A 2023 summary of housing assessments published by the Housing Agency clearly tells us that more people are entitled to social housing. According to this report, about 40% of people on the housing list are in private rented accommodation and a receipt of support payments such as HAP. Because minimum standards apply to all private rentals, people living in private rentals theoretically receive the protection of the Residential Tenancy Board in terms of the standard of their housing. However, not all these standards apply to social homes, let they be approved housing bodies or local authorities, and they should be. People in social housing shouldn't be, like Senator Andrews said, do not deserve to be treated like second-class citizens. I was contacted last week by a tenant of a local authority home in Sligo. She's a proud person who does not like to complain or ask for help, but the situation had become so bad that she felt she had no option but to reach out. Her home is drafty with old timber-framed windows, inevitably having shrunk. The wooden door no longer fits snugly to its frame, and there's gaps with the wild Atlantic blowing straight in everywhere. This lady's home is, in other words, impossible to heat. Now, how much money she throws into it. But if this was a private tenancy, the landlord would be quite rightly be issued an enforcement notice, and Sligo County Council and the landlord would be given 9 weeks to bring the property up to an acceptable standard. But because it's a council tenancy, no such recourse exists. So I contact Sligo County Council. I know this from being a councillor myself, to see what could be done. And while the staff are very understanding of the tenant's situation and empathetic to her needs, they're hampered by two things: the lack of directly employed staff by Sligo County Council and the lack of funds to carry out the necessary remedial works. I know from myself as a councillor that the lack of people directly employed to look at maintenance, small maintenance works, means that these are often left ignored until there's big grant schemes come into play, and then the situations continue getting worse. Like, none of us would do that in our own homes, that we let the problem get more and more and more. And also that there's a severe lack of funding going in for housing improvements, because the money that comes in from tenancies are often used up, that's the only money that they're getting. So I would urge you, Minister, to look at properly resourcing all the local authorities to at least take care of the stock that we actually have, so that people can actually live in their homes in a comfortable and heated way.